A Course in Miracles, a transcription of the Shorthand Notes manuscripts, Helen Schucman, draft. The lesson here is quite simple, but particularly apt to be overlooked. I will therefore repeat it, urging you to listen. Only your mind can produce fear. It does so whenever it is conflicted in what it wills, thus producing inevitable strain because willing and doing become discordant. This cannot be corrected by better doing, but it can be corrected by higher willing. So everything's about the mind, not the body. As far as the body goes, every human being alive is light and spirit. That's who you really are in terms of your body. And so everything's about the mind, the healing of the mind. So no conflicts. That is a theme throughout the book. No mental conflicts. No thought opposes any other thought. Conflict free in terms of thinking. That is a major theme in this book. Very, very important for real spiritual growth is to have no thought opposing any other thought about any subject that we do, people do as human beings. No strain. Either I am wholly willing or it's an ego thing. If there's partial unwillingness or partial willingness, it's an ego thing. Drop it completely, whether it's a thought leading to an action, whatever it is. It, spiritual living is always 100% certain about everything, every moment, moment to moment, zero strain, stress. You cannot change your mind by changing your behavior, but you can change your mind. But the book also talks about, as far as behavior goes, self-control is a good thing. If you can't get there mentally, if you can't live it mentally, whatever the problem is, self-control is a good thing. There's a sentence in the book about that. But so um, but it's all about the correction of the mind as far as the beliefs about whatever. Yeah, you can't do it unless you can think it. There's a sentence in the book, first you think it and then you do it. Sentence like that. I'm paraphrasing some, but that's that's an obvious truth. You can't do it unless you can think it. Um, so higher willing means happy to do it. Happiness is a major idea in this book. you know Everyone at all times, your capital S self, your Jesus like self, is always 100% happy moment to moment, literally 100% happy moment to moment. That's who we really are. That's who anyone really is, for real. Like every moment supremely happy, with strength and joy and kindness and peace and love and goodness. That's who everyone is in every moment about everything, every thought leading to every word, leading to every action. So it's about higher willing is in this sentence here. Um, uh, be especially, and this is in the book also, especially about being happy about these types of ideas. I have to be happy about the truth that I'm supposed to be 100% happy moment to moment, for example. I have to be happy about that truth, or I won't be able to live it. I won't be able to be it. Reading from the Notes of Helen Schucman, ACIM, after taking the first corrective step, that is, knowing it is fear, you might benefit temporarily by adding another next step before going on with the corrective process. Try saying to yourself that you must have willed not to love somehow or somewhere, or that fear which arises from behavior will could not have happened. Then follow previous instructions. So fear is an unpleasant emotion of any kind. Never, not for one moment, is our real selves, our capital S selves, our Christ-like selves, our Jesus-like selves. Never is there a mental upset of any kind. Always nothing but peace, joy, strength, love, all those positive attributes, ideas, words, thoughts, feelings. Zero feelings of grievances, zero feelings of deprivation, zero resentments, angers, confusion, doubt, any of it, loneliness, any of it, zero, all at all times. So, so there's a sentence in the book, something like, if you're not wholly joyous, you must have reacted with a lack of love to someone. Okay, so accept that fact. If I'm not wholly joyous in the moment, either in thought, word, or action, I have reacted with a lack of love towards someone. And then do whatever I need necessary. Anyone should do whatever they need necessary to change the beliefs, change the behavior. Learning means change is a sentence in this book. So, and there's more about that topic. But um, if I'm not wholly joyous, I've reacted or acted in a lack of love towards someone, and accept that fact, and then make the corrections necessary. Especially, I mean, only correct the beliefs that led to the not being wholly joyous. That will automatically change the behavior. Okay, reading from ACIM. If you consider what the process really means, it is nothing more than a series of pragmatic steps in the larger process of accepting the atonement as the remedy. From this viewpoint, the steps can be reworded as follows. No, first, this is fear. 2, fear arises from lack of love. 3, the only remedy for lack of love is perfect love. 4, perfect love is the atonement. Pragmatic, I suppose that means practical. Um, and there's definitely a sentence in the book about this is a very practical course. This is not about high-minded philosophy of no, it's not. It's a very practical course about how to be truly Jesus-like, wholly joyous, perfect peace, perfect strength, perfect kindness, perfect tenderness in every moment, moment to moment, about everything, every thought, word, and action. It's a very practical book about how to be that. Um, the atonement, salvation, enlightenment, all the same thing. It's the same thing as Jesus at his baptism. Living in this oneness with God in a sense of perfect peace, joy, strength. The great rays of God come in. God takes the final step himself, and someone is filled with joyous energy because their mind is pure. So God has now added his energy to somebody, and now they are truly living in no thought opposes any other thought. Nothing you say is contradicted by what you think or do, etc., etc. Real enlightenment. So atonement, enlightenment, salvation, etc., etc., are to me the same idea. And the book does have a sentence like that where it makes a comparison to all those types of words and says it's all basically the same thing. So anything that's not love, an intense feeling of deep affection for real, like that's what love is. An intense feeling of deep affection. Am I, you, or anyone feeling that in every moment about everyone in every way? Yes or no? If the answer is no, you're in your ego. If the answer is yes, you're in the will of God. So, um, uh, unpleasant emotions arise from lack of living in an intense feeling of deep affection for everyone. This is how Jesus was in his public, especially in his public mission. I mean, even prior, but especially in his public mission, he had this feeling of, um, an intense feeling of deep affection for every human being he thought of or encountered. He had this as his presence. I don't want to say aura, but as his way of thinking, feeling, and being. He had this way of um, truly living in this mentality of an intense feeling of deep affection for everyone he's thinking about or interacting with in any way. And that's that's the goal of the book, is to truly live that way fully. If I, you, or anyone is truly living that way, you can't say, think, or do the wrong thing. It just can't enter your mind. So that would be perfect love. Perfect love. Love as God defines it. Love is The first person of the Trinity defines love, perfect love. There's plenty of ideas in the book about that, or sentences in the book about that. Um, there's a sense in the book. There's no difference between love and joy. So, um, and the book says, right in the introduction, the goal is to remove the blocks to love's awareness. In other words, ego beliefs that I made or anybody made that are not the will of God. They're not perfect peace, perfect joy, perfect strength, perfect goodness. They have elements of remorse, disappointment, sorrow, or other negative emotions in them. Those are the beliefs that have to be undone. And then the awareness of love can be complete in the sense of the full awareness of the love of God. So it says here, perfect love is the atonement, oneness with God. And, oneness with God, in a metaphoric sense of, you always remain an individual. I, you, or anyone is going to be an individual in perfection and an individual in the afterlife, not with the body as a form, but with some type of spiritual form. um, Everyone is an individual uh, into the eternal future. So, but the goal is to be a perfect individual, similar to Jesus in his public mission. Reading from the notes of Helen Schucman, the final procedural step is inherent in the last statement. We have emphasized that the miracle or the expression of atonement is always a sign of real respect from the worthy to the worthy, though this worth is established by the atonement. Um, Miracle. I mean, there are physical miracles. Jesus did many real physical miracles. In general, to me, a miracle is anything that's filled with peace, joy, strength, love, goodness. Epiphanies of thought, for example. Um, so respect is very, very important, of course. There's a sentence in the Urantia book, Urantia, the Urantia book about um, Jesus developed a superb self-respect. So self-esteem to me is also the same idea or similar idea or very good idea. Full and complete self-esteem, self-respect, and then of course, if you're feeling full and complete self-esteem, self-respect for yourself, then you're going to view everyone else as an in full respect, full esteem, valuing and appreciating others in an inestimable value is the ACI. Well, one of the ACIM sentences is every human being alive is of inestimable value. You cannot estimate you can't estimate the value of what cannot be estimated, something like that. I'm paraphrasing some, but it's the whole idea of truly valuing and appreciating every human being alive in every way, full respect, full esteem, um, from a love, sinless, pure, holy in ACIM terms, or it's the same thing as moral, virtuous, righteous, simply living that way in every way, moment to moment. That's God Himself, the first person of the Trinity. That's Jesus of Nazareth, and that's the goal, is to live that way. It says here, from the worthy to the worthy. So there's a sentence in the book about the only reason I, you, or anyone doesn't fully live up to these ideas is because I, you, or anyone does not see themselves as fully worthy of living up to these ideas. So I, you, or anyone should see ourselves as fully worthy of living up to these ideas of perfect peace, perfect joy, perfect happiness, every moment, moment to moment, and other similar ideas. There's a sense in the book, I'm pretty sure it says something like your worth is established by God, etc., etc. There's plenty on the topic. In ACIM, it is obvious then that when you are afraid, you have placed yourself in a position where you need atonement because you have done something loveless, because you willed without love. This is precisely the situation for which the atonement was offered. The need for the remedy inspired its creation. Okay, so yeah, again, with the whole thing about if I'm not living in what real love is, an intense feeling of deep affection, in terms of my mentality, my character, my way of being, my thoughts, my feelings, my interactions with others. If I'm not living that way 100% of the time, moment to moment, with supremely happy, perfect peace, perfect joy, etc., then I am in my ego or fear, and I have reacted or done something with a lack of love towards another human being. That's what it's saying. Um, as soon as okay, so in ACIM, as soon as anyone ever had a thought that was not the perfect will of God, it was not perfect peace, joy, love, goodness. It had negative emotions involved to some degree. Immediately when that happened, God gave that person uh, um, the remedy, or the correct way of thinking is also in someone's mind. So if someone, you or anyone, has an incorrect belief about something, it's not perfect peace, joy, strength. The correct belief is in our minds. We simply have to access it. We simply have to remove the blocks to the awareness of the correct idea. Um, there's lots of different ways to say that. ACIM says that same idea in many different ways throughout the book. ACIM says that the God mind is at the center of our minds. That's one of the sentences in the book about the subject. Reading from ACIM, as long as you recognize only the need for the remedy, you will remain fearful. However, as soon as you remedy it, you have also abolished the fear. This is how true healing occurs. So this is about living This is about the experience of living these truths. This isn't about intellectually understanding these truths but not living them. That's not what this book is about. That's not what life is about. That's not what truth is about. Life, truth, etc., is about truly living these ideas. Um, it's all about the healing of the mind. Plenty of sentences in the book about that. The notes of Helen Schucman. Everyone experiences fear and nobody enjoys it. Yet it would take very little right thinking to know why it occurs. Neither you nor Bill have thought about it very much either. I object to the use of a plural verb with a properly singular subject. And remember that last time in a very similar sentence. He said it correctly, and I remembered it with real pleasure. This real grammatical error makes me suspicious of the genuineness of these notes. Um, so the first couple sentences there would be, the channeled material, um, and so everybody experiences fear, nobody enjoys it. So again, I mean, ACIM even talks about this, right? Well, not even talks about it. It talks about this. Uh, Everybody, moment to moment, is looking to be happy. Whatever you're doing, you're looking to be happy. Unfortunately, body appetites and other things seem like they're going to be happiness, but they result in remorse, disappointment, sorrow. So if that happens, it was an ego thing to begin with. But um, the goal is to be truly supremely happy, moment to moment, in every way, about everything. Um, so then the rest of this doesn't sound like channeled material, or another term for that. I don't know. Anyway, I object to the use. He said it correctly, and I remembered it. All right. ACIM. What it really shows is that you are not very receptive. The reason it came out that way is because you are projecting in the inappropriate way your own anger, which has nothing to do with these notes. You made the error because you are not feeling loving. So you want me to sound silly so you won't have to pay attention. Actually, I am trying to get through against considerable opposition because you are not very happy, and I wish you were. I thought I'd take a chance, even though you are so resistant, because I might be able to help you feel better. You may be unable not to attack at all, but do try to listen a little too. So this is pretty much very directly for Helen, not too much in here that's applicable to everyone and anyone. Not it sounds like the channeled material, but um, uh, I mean, Helen was an atheist. Helen was an atheist, so as far as the channeler here, who, whatever spirit is bringing through this information, um, generally thought of as Jesus of Nazareth, because there's a lot of first person Jesus of Nazareth sentences in this book. But um, anyway, reading from the notes of Helen Schucman, ACIM, very few people appreciate the real power of the mind. Nobody remains fully aware of it all the time. This is inevitable in this world because the human being has many things he must do and cannot engage in constant thought watching. However, if he hopes to spare himself from fear, there are some things he must realize and realize them fully, at least some of the time. So that's definitely, channel material, inspired writing. I don't know. There's another term instead of using the word channeled. There's another word to use instead of that, but it's the same thing. So um, so the real power of the mind. Everything is about the mind. I said earlier, at the beginning of this, that what I am, you are, everyone is spirit light for real. This is a real thing. You are spirit light. You are not a body in everything that idea means. I mean, there are physical realities about that. Um, there are, of course, mental, emotional, spiritual realities about that. But it's all about the mind, the spirit being light. The body is always 100% neutral. There's a sentence in the book, it says the body should not feel at all. And that means everything, every moment, moment to moment, the body feels nothing. The body feels nothing. The body should not feel at all, no matter what you, I, or anyone else is doing as a human being. The body does not feel at all. The only pleasure experienced in sex, for example, is that you are creating a zygote. You're creating a body for a soul to enter. That's the only pleasure that's ever felt in sex at all. The mind always remains wholly joyous. The body feels nothing. No response at all is in the mind to what the body does. The body is 100% neutral at all times. If I'm truly living as a spirit light being, um, that's how I would think, feel, see, be, and do. Is the body feels absolutely nothing, no matter what anyone is doing at all times. Um, so be vigilant for your thoughts. You are responsible for your thoughts. That's definitely a sentence in the book. Um, no mind wandering. Really living up to this. No thought opposes any other thought about any subject. No thought opposes any other thought about any subject ever, moment to moment, and living in the real truth, the will of God about absolutely everything. There's a sense in this book. The mind can be right or wrong. It goes on to talk about right mindedness and wrong mindedness. But for every physical action, there is a right and there is a wrong. In the right in that physical action, I will experience supremely happy, perfect peace, perfect joy, perfect kindness, perfect tenderness, no conflicts of thought, etc., etc. If I'm wrong about that physical behavior or that spiritual belief, I will have feelings of remorse, disappointment, sorrow, confusion, or some other negative emotion to whatever degree, a mental upset, an unpleasant emotion of some kind, if I'm in my ego or anyone's in their ego. The mind is a very powerful, so reading from ACIM, oh, The mind is a very powerful creator, and it never loses its creative force. It never sleeps. Every instant it is creating, and always as you will. Many of your ordinary expressions reflect this. For example, when you say, don't give it a thought, you are implying that if you do not think about something, it will have no effect on you. This is true enough. So everything is about thought. My thoughts, your thoughts, anyone's thoughts are literally creating your world, your environment. Everything is being created by your thoughts. 100% responsibility. That's a, a major theme in the Seth books. The Seth books by Jane Roberts. You create your own reality by the nature of your beliefs. So an ACIM in any New Age spiritual book talks about you are not a victim in any way, shape, or form ever. You are creating what is going on. That has to be a real simple understanding and lived. But my thoughts, your thoughts, anyone's thoughts are creating what's going on in the moment. That's a major truth. The mind is very powerful. Um, this book talks about sleep, rest. Um, there's a sentence in the book about waking up joyfully, having given the mind to the Holy Spirit. There's a lot of sentences in the book about different things, all kinds of things about this particular subject.